Tomas de Loo.
My name is Tomas de Loo. I come from Holland. I am the BSI auditor. To err is human, and we have standards and norms to keep tabs on those who err. I'm going to be delivering my presentation in Polish, so thank you for you being considerate. The translators will not have to translate my Polish into Polish. I hope it is good enough, and thank you for your applause. Let's get started. BSI has been in Poland for the past 20 years. I am here to talk to you about my auditing experience regarding the ISO 19650 norm. We perform these audits primarily in Holland. BSI is the first company that uses this norm as grounds for certification. Starting this December last year, this standard has become available. And I'd like to share my experience with you. What is BIM? We often get this question. There are many answers to it. ISO 1965 650 uses the stage-related definition. There are many stages from 0 to 3. 0 is where paper is the main medium of passing on information. But now we have ISO 19650 at the second stage. Including the audits that I use. The full schematic of what I have just mentioned is presented on the screen. Each level has a layer to it, a topic, and the ISO 19650 norm is the norm for the design stage. That's where the client is responsible for drafting the EAIR. In the design stage, like I already mentioned, this standard is applied. The technology and business area falls into stage 2. Common data environment also has its counterpart. It includes the federated model as well. This audit at stage 2 examines all of the above-mentioned information, including the guidelines of the ISO 19650, including all of the procedures lined out for the federated model. Let's move on to BIM level 2. If we try to answer the question of what BIM is, regardless of what it is supposed to have an impact on the organization. BIM should impact organizations, and organizations should be able to impact BIM. The bottom line is to have guidelines for the way information travels. Common data environment should fall into that category. Resources, namely what we require from our contractors as us being the general contractor. And it should include all the processes of who checks on whom and how that information is passed on, how the information travels from the first draft to the published version that goes to the client. efficient information production should be put in place so that information is relevant and useful in the future. That's why we have the ISO norm. The main principle in application here is begin thinking about the end stage. Each company can make decisions as to how the technology is implemented, depending on the kind of control that they want to have over the documentation. So it is up to the organization itself, as long as it is efficient and effective with the future in mind. 4D planning is also part of stage 2. When we perform the audits, we examine the software and other solutions that are used. We also examine the competence level and the qualifications of the staff. And we look at how different entities cooperate. The principle begins with thinking about the end, finds its place in our audits. It keeps coming back to us within the ISO norm. Once the management system has been implemented, it can include the following elements. When any of these components are missing, trouble can arise. BAM, Sweco, Ballas Nedam, Strabag are certified companies, EDOC in Belgium. These are certified companies that take huge pride in that fact. They've gone through the certification process, they've been trained, and now they can put everything into practice.
Tutaj proszę wyciągacie telefony, możecie pobrać od nas materiały.
Go ahead and download free material through our application. All you have to do is scan this code to learn what we offer, what certification you can get. You can leave your data at our website. We are looking forward to cooperating with you. You can ask questions, provide us with examples coming from your organizations to make us progress on the road to digitization. This is not a competition. We want to cooperate and get better. Everyone's voice counts. Issue number 1, the registry of risk. It is part of the ISO norm. It is required. It can be part of the documentation of a company, or it can be a separate document. The aim of this document is to produce information. It aims to limit risk, provide information requirements, line out the information delivery strategy, capability and capacity, and mobilization. And you have to think about that from the very beginning. You have to be able to mitigate risk and to pass on that responsibility onto your subcontractors. If a general contractor deems the level of risk too high, the subcontractors need to be able to limit the risk. These processes can be managed as part of the registry of the organization or in the form of a separate standalone document.
9001, zarządzanie jakością. Ten standard ISO 19650 nie jest taki samonośny.
It can be part of the ISO 9001 on quality.
A ten rejestr to jest jeden przykład. W trakcie audytu to trzeba to zaprezentować, wytłumaczyć.
When the audit is performed, you have to be able to present that information. It will be discussed. We examine whether the information is relevant to the organization.
To musi być coś, co organizacja potrzebuje, co im
We
pomaga,
check
żeby,
whether it is required for the organization to function to the best of its ability.
że zredukują te możliwości.
Through that, we see whether an organization is actually thinking about the end from the get-go.
Zagadnienie drugie, common data
Moving on to issue number 2, common data environment.
Z tematów, które bardzo konkretne, zawsze audytuje. Common data environment ma strukturę, procesy.
The CD always has its structure and functionality. We pay close attention to that as we perform the audits.
I tutaj trzeba zawsze sprawdzić ten system, który używam, czy jest to.
We examine the systems being used to see whether it is in line with the ISO 19650. We have the work in progress zone, we have the shared, we have the published zone, and specific processes are described for each of these elements. That's what we audit. The document management system is not the same as common data environment because CD is closely tied to the zones that I have mentioned, those areas of interest. And issue number 3, checking verification versus BSI kite mark. There are different types of audit.
Ale też można to audytować z dowodami z istniejących projektów. Więc
Current projects can be provided as proof at this stage.
I nie ma tutaj dowodów z projektu, więc kite mark wymaga to, że jest jeden, dwa,
Kite mark requires 1, 2, or 3 projects where all elements of 19650 can be presented as proof of the fact that whatever was planned and designed was actually implemented, including all personnel. Naturally, if a project does not use BIM, this does not apply. It applies only to those situations where BIM is actually used. Proof coming from projects, from designs implemented has to be provided, along with the technical documentation and client satisfaction. You have to show how your relationships with all entities in the supply chain go, so that you can prove to us that you are trying to use all innovations possible, that you're trying to stay up to date, that your ambitions are high, and that you're keeping your company front and center. Customer satisfaction is evaluated by the actual customer once a project is completed. It serves as a grounds for improvement later down the line. I recommend kite mark to everybody. It's very credible. It provides ample information and it allows you to learn on what you do. You need a good system to be able to improve your systems and processes. And those are work in progress and can always be implemented. There's always room for improvement. So examining your internal processes and keeping tabs on them serves everybody best. International certification of this sort allows all subcontractors to work throughout Europe. It makes them more credible. It helps expand on international markets. To conclude, I'm presenting this slide. We have the exhibition booth right out in the hallway. Approach us, keep in touch. We have our office in Warsaw, and our staff will be more than happy to talk to you and support you. Let's get talking. Let's see how our digitization journey is progressing. Thank you for your kind attention.